So welcome everyone, and it's great to see such a lovely turnout for our Lovely People webinar this week. And we have as our lovely person, we've got the lovely Stef Cybichowski. Go me, did you see that?
I was just going to go with Stef.
Yeah. It's really, really great to have you here with us, Stef. And we have got the absolute delight and pleasure in a couple of weeks to have you as one of the speakers at our conference that we're holding here in North Devon. So a little bit of shameless publicity there. So if anyone is going to be near enough, from the 13th to the 15th of September, we're having a fabulous conference, the first one, we think, in North Devon, and Stef is going to be one of our speakers. So I'm really excited about that. But right, back to tonight for now anyway. So Stef, would you like to introduce yourself to, I know you probably know a lot of the people here, but equally we do have people that watch these webinars afterwards who maybe don't know you, don't know much about you. I would love to hear, you know, what would you like to
I'll make it as short as I can. A lot shorter than my second name. Thank you so much for the intro, Deb. That was really beautiful. I really am so happy to be here, and it's so lovely to see so many people that I know and some people that I don't, and get the chance to sort of reconnect with you guys. It's yeah, it's really special. It's really special. So me, okay, so I'm a dad, I'm a musician, and I'm a free principles practitioner, whatever that means. I've been around the principles probably for about 6 or 7 years now, and I get to I get to travel quite a lot, and I get to meet a lot of very interesting and really, really lovely people as well. So the principles coming into my life has totally transformed how I see the world, and it's totally transformed what life means to me. And the most amazing things, most amazing possibilities, and the most amazing adventures have been opened up to me since I came to this understanding. And the kind of thing that you would, I didn't have the imagination in my mind to see what could possibly happen. So yeah, that I'm going to keep it short, but that's who I am. I just spend a lot of time on planes and talk to some amazing people, and I get to learn so much from everybody. I love all you guys on this call as well. So that's me.
Oh, that's lovely, thank you. And I have to say, you know, since I came across this understanding, I just feel so blessed that I get to do something like this, hang out this evening with all you amazing people and call it work. You know, it's kind of I sometimes pinch myself, you know, it's like, wow, it's really, really great. And it is just beautiful when you manage to kind of take that breath, step back, and allow life to just unfold. Life is so amazing when you let it just live itself, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been such an interesting journey for me, because, you know, when I think about how my life has unfolded before the principles, I was a really shy person. I had so much lack of confidence, and I was very nervous around people and nervous around trying things. I always thought I had to be competent in order to be accepted in the world of work. I always thought I had to be I had to be lovable and absolutely the perfect partner in order for me to be in a relationship. And I just remember growing up and even sort of in the latter years, life seemed to be a real challenge for me. It seemed to be a real trying to swim against the tide for all my life, really. And when I first came to the principles, the first insight I had was that I wasn't the person that I kind of made myself up to be. I saw that all my life I'd lived from this place of insecurity, low self-esteem, and that meant that I didn't do things. I didn't do things in the world. I wasn't really confident enough to get that job, to go and ask that girl out and go to that party, all those things. You know, I would kind of literally hide in my room for most of it. So when I got a sense that actually it was the Sid thing where he said where his insight came, somebody said, you're not insecure, Sid, you just think you are. That really hit home for me with who I thought I was. I kind of had this whole built up this whole identity, this whole image of myself, and I hadn't realized just how it was dictating how I lived my life. And what was interesting was that in some areas of my life, I was competent. So I was a musician, and I would get up on stage and I'd play in front of people. I did not think anything of that at all. But if I had to go and talk to a businessman about, a sale, or if I had to go and talk to a girl about asking her out, I would be a mess, a complete jelly. So that first insight really rocked my foundations. I began to see just how much I had limited myself in life, and just how much possibility there was out there that I had never even considered was possible for me. And a little bit later, after that insight about seeing that I wasn't the person that I thought I was, I began to get a sense of who we really are. I began to get a sense of not just me in my own little world, but this space of consciousness. And once I inhabited that space, again, the world looked completely different to me. So, stop me if I'm talking too much here.
No, absolutely loving it.
So I showed up at Supercoach Academy in 2014, and the first weekend that I was there, people were talking about connection, they were talking about love, and they were talking about relationships and that kind of thing. And as is usual with me, I didn't, in the room, I didn't get anything, I was so intent on writing stuff down and learning. I missed everything that went on in the room. And then when I went back to the hotel that night, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up with the words, you know, you're already connected. There's nothing that you have to do. We're all already connected. I hadn't got a clue what that meant. I did not have a Scooby at all. So I went walked down to the beach and kind of had a chat with the sea, and I got into this really quiet state, and I realised that pretty much all my life I'd been chasing connection with people, and it seemed to me that there were only two places that I felt connected. One was when I was coaching, and one was when I was playing music. Everything else in my life, I felt incompetent. I felt it was hard work. I felt I needed to be more in order to connect. But this moment on that beach, I got really quiet. And I walked up to a Starbucks. Jackie will know this story. I walked up to a Starbucks and I sat down in this little booth, and it was like really, really noisy, and people were shouting, and the music was pretty horrible, and the decor was all ripped and coming off the wall, and I sat down in this space and just got even quieter. And something, I had no idea how long it lasted, but something happened where what I thought life was, just kind of fell away. It kind of dissolved in front of my eyes. All the people and the wallpaper and the music and everything just kind of blended into one, and I just sank into this place of perfection. The music was unbelievably beautiful, you know. The wallpaper was, it couldn't have been improved, and the people were just love. I got so quiet. And I don't know how long I was there, but there were some other students came in afterwards, and they came up to me and they tapped me on the shoulder, and I kind of came awake, and they said, "We thought you were on drugs. You're just so out of it." So anyway, so I had this experience, and I floated back to the training venue and the other students, and I was so happy. I was so euphoric, and I was saying, "We're all connected. We're all one. This is, you know," and they're all going, "Of course we are. You know that, you know." But I kind of saw then that how much I had intellectually taken on board the concept of being connected.
Mm.
You know, when I'd read the books and I'd done some courses, and I realized, yeah, we're connected. I didn't really see it. I didn't really feel it. And in that moment, it was like everybody is in a sea of love, the most beautiful sea, and there are waves and there are undercurrents, but we're all swimming in the sea, and you know, there are some people that are trying to stay dry, and there are some people that, I don't know why this came to mind, but some people that won't accept love, you know, that don't like being complimented and feel embarrassed when people say nice things about them. I saw that we don't get a choice about that. We are love. Now, the interesting thing was the rest of that weekend kind of passed by. I didn't really notice much, but I flew home, and something had shifted. Something had shifted so much that the taxi driver that had taken me to the airport, who was a really grumpy Greek guy who'd not said a word, and he, like, really for 2 hours he'd not said a word. And I had the same Greek guy going home, and I didn't say anything to him, but he just opened up. He just told me about his kids in such a loving way. He told me about his wife. He told me about his girlfriend. He told me about everything. And I couldn't work it out. And I got back home and I went to the supermarket, and there was you know, a girl behind the checkout, and I said hello and how are you, and she broke into tears and started telling me about her day. And this went on, and I tell you, it hasn't stopped since. If I think back to how I used to be before I had the insight, before I had the understanding, I always used to show up so nervous. I always used to show up with some kind of an agenda in my head, just so that I wouldn't be embarrassed or humiliated in any conversation. And something fell away, and I saw something so deep about the fact that underneath all this crap in our head that we take as being real, underneath all that, all we are is love. All we are is connection. All we are is compassion. And it's unconditional. Because when we haven't got the conditional thinking in our head, we're just naturally close to people. We're naturally compassionate and empathetic. So if we are conscious awareness, life experiencing itself, and that is it, then that conscious awareness is love. And I don't mean love in a kind of personal way. I'm talking about something that is so unbelievably huge, like we have no concept of it. We give it a concept. So if we are this consciousness, just one consciousness, 7.5 billion expressions of it, then I don't have to be nervous, concerned, worried about talking to anybody in the world, because we're talking to ourselves. Right?
That's what you always say.
Yep. When people come to me and they want to share the principles or something, one thing I always say is just say to the person in front of you what you want to hear. Because it's only you're ever going to be talking to.
So for me, that experience and that journey has created so many shifts in me.
Mm.
Some of them I've noticed and some of them I haven't, until I find myself doing something and think, oh, that's different. That's different. But life has changed so much, you know, that and I love the way this is called the Lovely People webinar, because that's who we are. Underneath this crap, there's a space, and when it's our space talking to that space, there's nothing but love. So that, sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there, didn't I?
No, that's perfect. That's it's just beautiful. It's lovely. It's lovely to hear that. And it's kind of, I love how in these conversations we can kind of go so deep and talk about consciousness and the beautiful feeling you were in that cafe, and then we can come back to just the such ordinary everyday things. Because my huge thing was, I thought that those things weren't connected. You know, I thought you were either this or you were this. And it's kind of seeing,
Yeah.
you know what, it changes how you do the washing up. It changes how you peg your washing on the line. It changes how you parent your kids. It changes how you show up and talk to other people. It's, you know, what we're talking about is, yeah, it's it helps us universally. It just helps with everything.
Yeah. When you get a sense of who we really are, I suppose for me, one of the biggest things is that I tend to hold things in life so much more lightly, you know. That doesn't sound much in itself, but I would get upset, you know, about what people would say. I'd get upset with myself about doing things, and I would get kind of upset when things didn't go the way I wanted them to. But there's a thing about feeling less wanting to hold on to this person that I still make myself up to be, you know, this person that is separate from life, this person that needs to be improved, this person that needs to protect the self. There's a real kind of ease and, like you say, unfolding, having a sense that I don't have to protect myself. I don't have to put up this image of myself to the world that is competent, that is expert, that is, you know, sort of worthy. I'm so happy now just to see people, you know, just to let people see what an idiot I can be in the moment.
You're a lovely idiot because you're on our lovely people webinar.
I am. Yeah. Well, it's like here in Spain, you know, in Mexico, you know, I've been trying to learn Spanish for a long while to very little effect, and I would have been mortified at one time to be asked to speak to a native Mexican in their language and try and make myself understood. And now I get one of two reactions. I get either confusion, like what, or I get people bursting out laughing. And you know, both are really cool. I would have been really mortified at one time, but now it's another way of communication, you know, because I'm not in my head about what it means about me. And I know I'm already connected anyway.
You're already everything you will ever need to be.
Yeah. Believe me, that wasn't how it looked for most of my life.
No, it's just beautiful. When you were speaking, what was kind of coming into my mind was how much I used to have the need to control and be in control. And when you were kind of talking, I was like, oh, and it's massive when you kind of realize, actually, do you know what? You can just let go of that and it's okay.
It's amazing at what actually does happen when you stop trying to control it.
And trying to control in that way is so exhausting.
Yeah. The most amazing possibilities show up when we're not looking down at this. So this has to happen in the next 10 minutes, otherwise all of a sudden this kind of comes in and this comes in, and the stuff that we could never have ever imagined being possible when we're not looking down our little channel of how life should be.
I look, you know, the people just on this webinar, and I know I always kind of say this, but it just always comes back to me. The people that are here joining us tonight, if I was in control of life, how would I have managed to work it that all you people were here having this conversation? It's kind of like, I just would have, oh my gosh, just trying to organize one or two of you, it would have just been a nightmare. And to just let it unfold and let who shows up be here. And it's just, it blows my mind. You know, how come I'm speaking to Stef? How come, you know, Gillian is on this call? How come all these lovely people, you know, some I've met, some I haven't met, how did Terry end up here? You know, it's the connections and how we connect and how we get to be connected to these people. It blows my mind, and there's no way I could have orchestrated that on my own. I'm glad I'm not in control of that.
Even with your wonderful team.
Even with my amazing team. I think that's kind of
Of course, we have to mention the wonderful team, don't we?
Obviously.
We do.
Yeah,
yes. I have a fabulous team, guys.
But it seems to me, you know, God, I love what you're doing. I love the fact that you've kind of gone out and you've just gone, well, I'm going to do it. And it's about engaging with life. It's about having a an inclination. It's about having, whether it's like a big thing or a little thing, it's about having something come to mind and just be willing to do something about it, even if there's no idea of how it's going to turn out. It's an invitation from life. You know, life to me is constantly giving us guidance, constantly giving us ideas, constantly giving us insights. Me, I was the world's worst at kind of throttling them at birth and going, no, that would cost too much money. No, that wouldn't work. And no, yeah, that would take too much time. And no, and there's something I'm seeing about, if it's not me, if it's not us, if it's not us that's creating these inclinations or ideas, if it's not us that has responsibility for them, maintaining them, making sure that they work out, if it's just life creating through us and experiencing itself through us, then I don't have the responsibility of how it works out. All my responsibility is just to be, oh, I wonder what life wants in this case. You know, I wonder how cool this adventure could be if it's not about me. It's just a way of finding out what life wants. And that way, if it's not me that's got responsibility for it, all I have to do is take the first step and then maybe the second step, if there is one, and then the third. If it's not about me, then I can have the biggest fun with it. You know, I can play at life instead of it being so serious. Instead of it being significant and meaning something about me if I fail. That's what I see you guys doing, and I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. I mean, you're crazy, but you know,
we certainly are crazy.
We're still in training.
The stuff that's just happening to us as we kind of, I mean, I love what Michael Neill says about point yourself in a direction, show up, and then see what happens next. And that is absolutely what we've been doing. You know, we've been pointed ourselves in a direction. We've showed up 100% as much as we can. You know, it's kind of been, we're up for this. Yeah, just do it. And the things that are unfolding here are blowing my mind. It's really, really amazing. So
tell me what you've seen about that. How is it different to how you used to be? What's changed? Excuse me.
Everything.
I'm sorry. I'm turning into the interviewer now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you are.
And the table's turned there.
Yeah, turning the table. Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Hijacked.
Everything has changed in that way. You know, it's just deciding that we're going to take the next step, whatever each day, whatever the next step is, and kind of not have a fixed idea of what this has to look like. Just do the next thing that makes sense, and kind of letting go of. I feel like a kid in a playground. I'm just like, I kind of know what I would really love to happen, and then it's perfectly okay. The things that are just, we'd had a couple of conversations with people in the past. I've had conversations, and one of the things that I said I was interested in doing was, you know, taking this understanding into schools. and I kind of tried a little bit and what have you, and then had a few conversations with people, and everyone said, yeah, it's really, really hard to kind of get past the secretaries and actually ever have a conversation with anyone with any authority in a school. It's really, and especially, you know, I have no training whatsoever. I mean, the last exam I did was probably when I was 16, and it was, I didn't get a good grade, and it was an O level. You know, I have nothing. I've got no letters after my name or anything. So to actually get past anyone to do anything. Then we decided to do this conference. So we did all sorts of things, started making a noise. And then we made these signposts and hammered them into the site by the site. Well, went out at like 9, 10 o'clock at night when it was getting dark, and hammered these things into the borders at the side of the road, so that as people are driving along up to an island with traffic lights, they kind of see these signposts that we put in. Just saying we're doing a conference about mental health and well-being. This week, I have been speaking to the head of a sixth form college and the deputy head of a local school, who want me, they're trying to organise their calendars so that I can come in and speak at their school. And I'm like...
And they've contacted us.
Yeah,
rather
they've come to us, and they're kind of like, how can we accommodate you? How can we do this? And I'm like,
what?
How did that even happen?
Yeah.
Funny.
Wow,
that's just one thing that's kind of happened in the last few days.
Yeah.
And who knows what's going to happen at the conference? I have no idea who's going to be in that room. I have, you know, I don't, and I've not got anything riding on it. It's just going to be the best fun few days, and whatever comes from it, bring it on.
Absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So
it's going to look nothing like you imagine.
No.
But it's going to be so much better.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Shall we open this up and ask if anyone has got any questions or anything they would, you know, like to, any comments, questions, anything anyone would like to bring to the conversation? You can either unmute yourself or put your hand up or make whatever. Join in if anyone would like to.
Do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want. It's fine. Take the next step. Do what makes sense to you.
Let's have fun. Yeah.
We haven't got Crystal tonight, so it's quiet.
Okay, so we can just carry on talking, that's fine. And if at any time anyone wants to jump in, please feel free to do so. It's always great to have you part of the conversation. So because of a lot of the noise that we're making here, we get, I often send totally new people to our webinars and kind of say, go and look at some of the lovely people webinars, go and have a look, you know, see what we're up to. And obviously at the conference as well, there's going to be a fair few people in that room who have no idea what it is we're talking about. They'll have heard the word principles, they'll have heard, you know, this understanding of thing, and they're like, what are you talking about? So if you possibly can, no pressure.
Yeah, I knew this was coming.
So you've been practicing for hours.
I haven't got a clue.
And you've got to be better than
yeah, no pressure.
Your missus from last week.
You'll
forgot a name.
No chance. No chance. There's no chance of that happening. Well, you see, the thing is that question is, what are the three principles? To me, is I remember Michael Neal talking about it in a conference somewhere about, you know, there are some you know, people like Dickin or whatever that sometimes they get really tongue-tied because trying to explain something so huge in an abstract way, something that isn't related to or relevant to whatever is going on for the person in the audience, it's kind of, you don't want to get it wrong, do you? You just you get the one shot, and you just don't want to get it wrong. So there's so much about what the audience is and what comes up in the moment, and to be honest, I don't actually talk about the three principles in an abstract way at all, with people that I speak to. But if I was forced, I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth. But
it's fine.
So to me, mind is all there is. Mind is, there is nothing that isn't mind. There is the unexplainable, unmanageable, unconceivable energy behind life that is giving life to everything. It is making life, that is making life happen. You know, the kind of, from everything that's happening underneath the soil to the way that everything is connected, to the wind, to the rain, to the stars. I don't know whether it's the universe is kind. I don't know whether it has a concept of what is kind, but I know it gives of itself. I can stand in a field and I can feel life giving itself to me. And I know that I am a part of it. I'm not separate from it. And I know that life has a way of allowing us to expand. We experience mind and life through consciousness. And we contract, we expand, we contract, we expand all the time. We're aware of stuff, then we're not, then we are. We point our awareness in a certain direction, we get new shit, you know? We get an experience of life, and we have the unlimited potential possibility to just create, to just spend our days being creation. And that happens through thought. Thought is how form is made from the formless. And who we truly are is not part of the the game of life. You know, we play this game of life like literally our lives depend on it. Literally, if this happens, I can't go on. We collaborate in this world of thought that we're misusing so much. We all agree about what the rules of life are and what we should do and how we should be and where we should go and what needs to happen in order for our separate self to feel better, to feel wanted. But the who we really are is before the game. Is before the world, the illusion of thought, before the dream. Who we really are is consciousness. And we never get to experience ourselves exactly like that. But for me, when I get lost in the game, I understand that I don't have to do anything about it. All I have to do is point my attention, point my awareness at the truth. And the illusion falls away to a certain extent. So, and that to me is, so if I get lost in a really kind of bad state of mind, and then all we have to do is notice, because that's what consciousness does. That's what its job is. All we have to notice is the feeling. And we get a sense, the more and more we see what's going on, the more we can see that when we're lost, all we're doing is we're just, through the principle of thought, creating a set of glasses that we're looking at the world through. So this is my anxious glasses, these are my depressed glasses, these are my stressed glasses. That once we notice, don't do anything, just notice that feeling, then at some point we reset. At some point we go back to normal, and the world looks a completely different place from there. We get playful again, we get peaceful, we get loving, we get happy, we get creative. That's who we are. Well, you asked for it. Sorry about that.
That was lovely, thank you. It's so lovely to just be reminded of that. It's easy to get caught up in our day and in our stuff, isn't it? And forget that. Thank you.
It's been absolutely gorgeous. It's been a real gift. Thank you, everybody.
It's just, yeah, there are not words either to just express how lovely it is to just hang out like this together. It's just so beautiful. Thank you.
For no other reason than just to hang out.
Yeah, just because we can.
Yeah.
The gift of
just hang out and talk to ourselves for an hour.
Just stop. Yeah. Yeah. The whole creation thing, I just absolutely love that. People are so awesome. What we are capable of creating is just mind-blowingly just gorgeous.
Yeah.
From the space that we can hang out in together like this, to the beautiful things that Jackie was sharing at the beginning, to the things that we get to create as human beings. We're so lucky. We're so blessed.
Yeah.
Has anyone got anything that they would like to add or share, or anything they would like to say to Steph, or anything before we take a breath and wrap it up tonight? Terry? Did you want to say something, Terry?
Yeah, I wonder.
Hey, Terry.
Hi. Sorry about this cat hair. Woo! Thank you, Tucker.
I've been watching
Yes.
the cat and feeling really relaxed with you smoking cat. So.
I'm always like, wow, like Pigpen or something. I wonder if you could describe in some way, in abstract ways, how you, when you're coaching, you say you, and let me see if I even heard you correctly. You say you work with people at the level or wherever they're at with this, rather than do it in abstract ways. You're following whatever, you're in the conversation around whatever it is that's up for them. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So what seems to happen in most coaching conversations, not all, most conversations, is that a client will show up, and they'll show up with stuff that they want to talk about, issues that they want to talk about. So firstly, it's good to know that they've been churning about it for a long time before they actually sit in front of you. So when they sit in front of you, their mind is doing 200 miles an hour, and 200 miles an hour isn't very helpful when they're trying to get a sense of this understanding that we're talking about. Because what we want to do is we want them to have their own insights. So when they show up and they're like this, they're very unlikely to hear anything. So it seems to me that what we do is we spend some time initially getting the client to tell us about their world, tell us about their issues, tell us about what they see about life. And during that, what we do is we connect. What we're doing is we're taking information, but we're also finding that space, that human, or the space of connection, rather than the noise. So we're compassionate with them, we're loving with them, and they feel safe in the car. So while we're allowing them to slow down, allowing them to tell us how their world works, we're getting an idea of where their misunderstandings lie. So for me, it feels like there'll be, a flag here about, okay, if this person says my boss is making me feel this way, if my partner's making me feel this way, or whatever, then there's a process where I'm noticing where it seems to me there's a misunderstanding in the way they're seeing the world. And at a point where they've given me a really good sense of their world, I can get curious about how would their world look to them if they could see what the nature of anxiety was, what the nature of depression was, what the nature of relationships, what the nature of connection. It's not related to exactly what their problem is, because if I look at it in terms of exactly what their problem is, then they stay at that level of consciousness. If we take it out of the personal and point at the nature of the principles, then what happens is they gradually go with you. And when they begin to see something about, so I don't know, we might talk about thought in terms of separate realities, say how nobody actually is looking at the same thing. We think they are, but they're not. But if they begin to get a sense of, oh, so they're not actually assessing the same thing in the same way that I am, and they're actually seeing things through a different filter of thoughts, then all of a sudden they can see their relationship with their boss in a different way, but they can also see the relationship with their partner and their children, and it becomes like a domino effect. So they, instead of saying to them, right, well, this thing about your boss, he's like not seeing the same thing as you, and what happens is very slowly you kind of tease out of them. So if this was true, if we are all living in experience of thought in the moment, what does that mean about that relationship? And they begin to join the dots themselves, which is where insight happens. It's just showing them just enough for them to begin to, for wisdom to begin to start working in them, for wisdom to begin to speak to them in a way which is helpful and healing for them. Does that make any sense whatsoever?
It does. I'm wondering if you're in a conversation or connect with someone and they're not coming to that conversation with any idea about how the human experience happens, and
which is most of the time.
Mm. It's not as if you're going to start the conversation that way. So I guess I'm wondering, because where I'm at with this is I'm just starting to venture out with sharing in different ways.
Okay.
And as we all have experience with sharing the principles, if you just share the principles, you're kind of screwed. So there's a way to do it that people that don't know anything about how life operates, that, to me, it's all I know to be true right now is I live it, and there's maybe some attraction there from someone that they see that something's shifting in me, and I don't know any other way at this point.
Yeah. Well, what's really good news about that is that it's not down to us.
True word.
So
It's
So-
not my personal problem.
Yeah. So when we're talking about coaching, we talk about listening deeply. You know, when we talk about listening deeply, it's about showing up without an agenda, showing up without trying to fix somebody, without having an idea of how they should be, and just really listening to what they're saying and hearing what's behind their words. But so there's the listening to the client, but there's also listening to wisdom. So what a huge part of coaching is, of course, you know, we need to have an understanding. We need to know what we're pointing to. But in my experience, what happens is I have no idea how I am going to try and explain a certain aspect of the principles in a way that somebody can see for themselves, because that is down to how they show up. You know, that's about what their life is how their life looks, and what experience they're having of different people, if it's a people thing. So for me, the thing about principles coaching is there's a science to it, as Michael Neal would say. There's an understanding, a grounding that we need of the principles to know what we're pointing to. But it's in the conversation itself, you will see, you know, when I was talking about flags, you will get a sense of where that person is, and wisdom will come to your aid and find ways for you to be able to make it clearer for them. That's the bit that ain't up to us. That's the bit we don't use our personal mind and our experience and how to coach. That comes from being present in the moment. That comes from being as open as we can to hearing life guiding us. And it works. You know, I'm lucky enough to get to mentor coaches at Super Coach Academy every year. And the single biggest obstacle in people's way along the way for 6 months is trusting wisdom and getting to the point where they can hear it. Instead of being, oh, this is a coaching session, they need to hear this and they need to hear that, and how am I going to do that? Well, you know, sometimes wisdom will say to me, I don't know. I don't know. I've got nothing, you know. So, and it's amazing how many times I'll say, I'm not really sure, but can you tell me more? You know, get them to try and articulate from a place which is not from what they've already decided they're going to talk from. If they have to start speaking from a place of new thought, then so many times they begin to see something for themselves just by being given the space to do it. So often I get that, oh, I don't know. So let's see. Yeah, but there's guidance in that. So for me, that's one of the biggest things that our coaches need to learn and trust, and that comes from practice, you know, from seeing how it works time after time, from getting completely screwed and having an idea of how it should happen, and it somehow comes out totally different but better anyway. You know.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
There could not have been a more ideal answer to what I was inquiring about. Because it took me totally out of the equation, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to come up with it. I'm not going to know how to say anything to anyone. But I know when I let all that go for even an instant, something else comes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's perfect, Terry. That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. Oh. Yeah, where to go now? Wisdom has deserted me, my mind. No, that was just beautiful. Thank you. And thank you again for your contribution, Terry. That was lovely. And thank you for all the beautiful words you shared tonight, Steph. It was always great to have a conversation with you. So thank you very much.
You're all such a gift. I'm so happy to have been part of this. Really.
We're all a gift to each other. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we have the lovely Liliana who's joined us to watch tonight, and she's going to be in the hot seat next week. She's going to be
she's our gift next
week.
My
goodness, it's next week.
It's next
I didn't know. I didn't remember. That's lovely. That's cool. Well, good timing. Do you know, I have put down all 3 principal books and everything for like the whole summer, and of course I was living them. But it's so nice to come back to this through you all. And Steph, it's lovely to see you and to hear you. And you girls are lovely. And there's a real sense of a heart-centered thing that you're doing. You know, the heart is in the center, and then there is a freshness around it. So it's really nice. I love what you're doing, and lovely surprise to be on next week.
No surprises.
That's good. I'll try not to prepare.
No, don't prepare. Just show up and be lovely, wonderful you. That'll be perfect.
Just be prepared for that. What are the 3 principles question?
Oh gosh, I think every time I answer that is a new answer, completely new answer. So yeah, it's one that we can't quite rehearse, can we?
No.
I've just noticed when new people come along, they kind of say, after we've been talking for a little while, they say, it's like it's a secret and you're not telling me what it is. What is this thing you're talking about? It feels like you're trying to keep it a secret from me. So I'm kind of trying to go in my mind, hey, there's no secret here at all. We're quite happy to share anything, but it's really difficult sometimes to put it into words.
I know.
Yeah.
And yet it's so practical as well. It's so pragmatic. It's like the paradox of the two.
Yeah.
Never cease to, you know, to make me smile, because it's like, hello. It's so tangible and human, and yet it's the most beautiful spiritual formless thing that I've ever, you know, contemplated. So that's it. Right. Lovely.
No problem.
Great. Keep doing what you're doing, all of you. It works.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're just having the best fun and we're loving doing what we're doing. So hey, you know, so on that note, we've got the lovely Liliana joining us next week for this. If anyone is close enough, we are back at Roundswell, not tomorrow but next Thursday. If you are close enough to come to one of our meetups, it would be absolutely great to see you there. And obviously the conference, which is the 13th and the 15th of September, we would absolutely love anyone who can possibly be there to come and join us. It's going to be just great. I think, you know, the next best thing is getting together here online, but there is just something really amazing about being in a room together. So, you know, if you can make it, we would absolutely love you to join us. And that's about it, really, I think, for tonight. That's all that remains for me to say. We're nearly at 8:15, so we have overrun a little bit. I do apologise for keeping you. But it would be lovely to see you all again on our webinar next week. If you can make it. Or
I'll try and make it.
yeah, it would be great if you
If you
could. Or I'll have to take Stef at his word and just talk to myself. So
Yeah.
That's cool.
If I can do it, you can do it, Liliana.
Okay, cool.
yeah, these
bye.
people who set up
Thank
our
you all.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bless you.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.